All right, well, that seemed to work. Our technical difficulties are smoothing out, opening up for us. So we'll just start with a brief centering meditation and just take a few moments to relax. Draw in a cleansing breath, and as you exhale, relax your body. And take another deep cleansing breath and relax your mind. And on your next breath, have a sense of drawing in rejuvenation and sustenance. And as you exhale, release anything that you don't need right now. And have a sense of calling your energy back to yourself. Depending on your time zone, you may be just wrapping up work or wrapping up an evening. And just have a sense of releasing whatever you were doing before this call. Just have a sense of letting that go. And having a sense of being here now, present with yourself, present with us on the call. And have a sense of your energy amplifying in and around you and through your physical body. And you may be a visual person and see that, or you may just have a sense of it. Whatever is right for you, have a sense of affirming your energy being abundant and filling every cell of your body, from your hair follicles, down your hair, through your head, through your entire body, down to your toes. And having a sense of being in your body, have a sense of now of your body being connected to the earth, blades of grass growing between your toes, soft earth underneath your feet, receiving you and holding you. And have a sense of your energy just dropping into the earth as if you're dropping an anchor or lines of energy, just dropping effortlessly. And if you're having trouble with this, have a sense of gravity, just the natural energy of gravity, force of gravity that is around you. Just have a sense of offering no resistance to gravity and allowing yourself to easily and effortlessly drop into the earth. And have a sense of the denseness of the earth's energy, the rich, fertile soil of the earth, trees rooted around you, grounding you, anchoring you into the earth. And in this quiet and connected space, have a sense of reclining back in a chair, just as if you're dropping back in a lazy boy chair, just easily rocking back. Your feet go up, and just have a sense of your center of gravity just dropping lower and deeper to the earth. And as you rock back, have a sense of moving your point of attention deeper in your mind, behind your frontal lobe, in between your ears, and just dropping back from rational, pragmatic, analytical mind. And as I often say, we give thanks and appreciation to our mind for all that it manifests. For right now, we'll just take a step back and just rock back in that chair to a deeper place of knowing. And take a moment to affirm that this place, too, within you is grounded into the earth. It's saturated with the life force energy that is you and that is yours. And that from this place you have vision, you have the power to create, you can receive information on a completely different level than through language. That from this place you are empowered. And have a sense of holding your vision in front of you as if it's a golden ball of light or whatever image or symbol or color would represent your vision, your ideal scene, the goal that you're working toward, a point in your life that you're reaching, and have a sense of holding that as if it's a golden orb in front of you. And just have a sense of any obstacle, hindrance, block in your vision, any of that just melting away into the earth. Any obstacle or slowing down or lack of clarity, just have a sense of that falling away. And as if the path is now just cleared and open for you. You may sense this or see this as an actual path between you and your vision. Have a sense of seeing the clarity in the path, maybe the texture of the path. Maybe there's landscaping around the path. And as we move into tonight's call, which is all about course correction, my favorite topic that we talk about, that this is a visualization that we can use to affirm that we are reconnecting with our path, that we are realigning with our vision and our goal and our purpose, that we envision and see for ourselves a clear path without identifying or evaluating the obstacles. We just have a sense of the path opening up and clearing for us. And that we can recall this vision when we find ourselves blocked or we think we're at an impasse, that we can take a step back and remind ourselves of the clarity of the path before us. And that often allows other ideas, solutions, avenues, possibilities to manifest and to come before us. That there may be a way to reach our goal that does not come from our analytical mind or thinking process, but that we can have aid and solution from another source. And Mark, when you're ready, I invite you to start this evening's talk.
Thank you, Gina. The theme this evening is set your course and keep correcting your course. And the kind of meditation, or whatever you want to call it, that Gina opened with, guided visualization, whatever you want to call it, is one wonderful way to correct your course. There are so many, many ways. I promised I would try to give the essence of what I know away every time I talked. And I keep thinking back. I was just telling people a story before this call of the bad old days and how tough things were. And I remember vividly my 20s and into my 30s and the struggles and frustrations, financial losses and debt of that era in my life. And I often reflect on that and then look at where I am now and say, what made the difference? What changed in me? What caused that change? And how can I communicate that to others in a way that they can take and use themselves? That's the most important thing. I want to find ways to give you tools to use. And I often get the image of what I can offer is a huge buffet of different possibilities. And you can just pick and choose among so many possibilities and just find the ones that work for you, the ones that your whole subconscious, your soul, your heart, your mind say yes to, and pick up and really use those tools in an effective way. To try to get down to the essence of what I know, the most basic thing that happened that made that change was an inner shift. Through my 20s and early 30s, I was so frustrated because of my belief that it was so hard, that so few people succeed, that maybe I didn't even have what it took to succeed. In fact, I probably didn't because I wasn't succeeding. There was an inner doubt, and underneath that, a fear that was very powerful, powerful enough to overcome my dreams. The day that I was 30, however, I sat down and I dared to dream my ideal scene. I dared to ask myself, and I dared because I was so frustrated, and I said, this has got to change. I do not like my current situation. I want it to improve. So I thought, how do I do this? And then I remembered a little game I played years before. The day I was 30, then I took a sheet of paper and I wrote ideal scene at the top. And I imagined 5 years had passed and everything went as well as I could imagine. What would my life look like? Ideally. I dared to dream that. Looking back on it years later, I saw how that simple little exercise that took me about 10 minutes to do probably set my course in life. Completely set my course. That's all it took to set my course, was imagining my ideal scene had passed and everything had gone as well as I could possibly imagine. That's my cell phone ringing. If you can hear it, I'll turn it off here. that set my course, and that's all it took to set my course. From that, I made a list of goals on another sheet of paper, and I rewrote my goals as affirmations, and then eventually over the following months, for every major goal, I wrote a simple one-page plan, a plan how to get from here to there on paper. That set my course. Well, of course, what happened, as soon as I started to do that, my doubts and fears just emerged. And I remember vividly. I remember exact words. And this is going back to my 30th birthday. I remember exact words in my mind. Like, my first part I wrote in my ideal scene was, I have a publishing company that cruises along and is very successful. And I write books, and I record music, and I have a beautiful white home on a hill in Marin County, a far cry from my slum apartment in Oakland, $65 a month rent. As soon as I got that much out, I remember doubts and fears just saying, Mark, it's way too much, way too much. Start a business and write books and record your music and get into real estate, way too much. Just pick one thing and focus on that. And I just knew the way my doubts and fears were, whichever one I picked, they'd start attacking that. Say, what do you know about business? What do you know about writing? What do you know? You know, the music business is crazy. Or you know nothing about real estate. Whatever I picked, my doubts and fears would then just attack that. They were vociferous. And so I stepped back and thought about it, and I said, no, this is my ideal scene. This exercise is my ideal. Going for my ideal. I want it all. That's my goal. That's the course I want to set for myself is toward this dream of a successful business and time to write books and be creative with my books and music and to have a beautiful home and to have a family. And then the more that I thought it through, when I dared dream my ideal, I added, and I want a life of ease. I don't want to work too hard. I want to have plenty of time, just for myself. I want to have time alone. I want to have time to stare into the sky and do nothing. I want to have whole days where I have nothing at all. That's my ideal, and it always has been. And that's exactly what I've created now. How did I create it? In spite of all those doubts and fears, the first way I got around them was I told them, let me go for this purely as an experiment. They said, it'll never work. It'll never work. Going for that whole big ideal scene, you going for that, it'll never, ever work. You'll fail. I got around that by saying, look, let me try it. And if I fail, I won't be any worse off than I am now. I had no job of any kind. I had no income. I had no savings. I had no family support. And even my doubts and fears had to admit, well, yeah, you're right about that. So I got around my doubts and fears. I literally said, look, give me a year or two to try this ridiculous idea. And I think most of my thoughts were convinced it would not work. But I got around it by saying, by grabbing onto that word experiment, this is a good experiment. I'm going to try this experiment. I'm going to go for my ideal, for creating success as I ideally want it to be, in my own lazy way. Doubts and fears said impossible. I said, that's my ideal. That's my experiment, to go for my dreams, but not to work too hard, to only work when I felt like it. That was my experiment. I got around my doubts and fears by latching onto that phrase. And I started making my plans. I started taking my first little baby steps. Then what happened? I kept getting off course over and over and over and over. I kept getting frustrated. I kept, basically I realized it was all based on fear. Fear then has many, many, many different things in which it cloaks itself. It can be frustration. It can be anger. It can be sadness. It can be depression. It can be all kinds of things. exactly when it says every moment we have a choice between love and fear, and that all our emotions are either at their core based on love or fear. So through my 20s and into my early 30s, most of what I did was based on fear. It slowly shifted as I kept focusing on my dream, which was based on love, your ideal. What do you want to do? It's what you love to do. I tricked myself into focusing on what I love. And somehow, over a period of about 5 years, from 30 to 35, I made a shift in my subconscious. First consciously, then subconsciously, I finally got it. And I think the essence of that shift, I can put into words. They may sound weird or whatever they sound like, but just take them in and try to put it in your own words if you can. But when I look at myself in my late 20s, the essence of my thought was, I'm incapable of doing anything. It's way too hard. Then I set my goal. And in my early 30s, the essence is, gee, I have this dream. I would really like to do this, but boy, is it hard. There's so much to do. There's millions of details. It's so overwhelming. Somewhere, by keeping returning to that dream and doing whatever steps I could do in front of me, my subconscious at some point reached a point where I started to think, maybe I can make this happen. Maybe it's going to work. Maybe even I can realize this dream of mine. And then somewhere that shifted to, I'm going to make this happen one way or another. Once you do that, once you get your subconscious mind working for you, then things start happening. Your subconscious is very powerful. It absorbs whatever you put into it. If you keep repeatedly reminding it that it's very powerful and can really help you, at times I felt, and I remember this as a turning point, when we were struggling so much with our company. We got a book back from the printer. We were nearly bankrupt. And I remember just fondling that book and thinking, I love making books. I love everything about it. Books have changed my life. I love publishing books. One way or another, I want to keep doing this. I want to make this work somehow or other. And I kind of entered into a period where I started being determined. I almost formed a clear intention. Though it took years, I think, to get a real clear intention. But I just shifted to a place where I kept thinking, somehow or another, this is going to work. I don't know how yet. I can't really see yet. This isn't working. I tried that. This is failing. I tried that. I'm nearly bankrupt here. I tried that. But somehow or another, I'm going to keep at it. I'm not going to give up. It was being persistent when I look back, although I didn't think of that in those terms. But I somehow said to my subconscious, I'm going to make this work somehow. Show me how. I'm willing to try anything. I'll try what's been tried and true in the past. I'll try something totally new and outside the box. I'll try whatever you think is worth trying. I'm going to try it. And if it doesn't work, I'm going to try something else. And over time, this intention formed that I'm going to make this work one way or another. I'm going to achieve this dream in my own lazy way, in my own absolutely unique way. I'm going to make this work. So show me how to make it work. Then you get your subconscious mind giving you ideas, showing you things. Oh, try this, try that. Try this totally off-the-wall thing. Or learn more about what's been done in your particular thing that you're focusing on, whatever you're focusing on. whether it's art or a small business or whatever it may be, there is a whole system established of people who have been successful doing that. There's a whole industry that's working for people. Learn about that. Find out how it works. That's why conventions are so great. Go to conventions or whatever gatherings of people in your industry are. There's all kinds of things that have worked in the past for people. Learn about it and try it and go for it. I went to a convention. I learned how publishing works. At the same time, there's always other completely innovative, cutting-edge people that are doing very new things and breaking all the molds, breaking all the rules of how it's done. Learn from them, too. Think about that. Try something totally new and wild and out of the box, if that's what your subconscious prompts you to do. Or maybe you need to learn the traditional way. I just heard a long thing on the radio about new artists that are finding all kinds of new ways to succeed outside of the entrenched gallery system. Well, I've known some artists that are doing really well through the gallery system. They've got great partnerships with gallery owners, and some of them do really well in the current gallery system. But then there are many, many artists that are doing just great outside of it. Some just selling their work on eBay. There was a huge article in the paper about an artist in Oakland who just filled his front yard with his sculptures. He lived in this funky house in a funky part of Oakland, and he started filling his yard with his sculptures, and people would drive by and start buying his sculptures out of his front yard. That became his gallery. He had a front page of the lifestyle section in the Chronicle. He had the top half of that page with a big shot of his yard. Well, look at the promotion he got. Now people drive miles and miles to go look at his front yard and buy his sculpture. There's his gallery. Doesn't cost him anything more than his house. That's one way. Whatever you're doing, there's countless ways you can succeed at it. Countless ways. And I see and revere the wisdom of Eckhart Tolle in The Power of Now, where he just says, get the inside right and the outside will take care of itself. The outside steps become easy. When I take the steps I take, I so often have the feeling it's so easy to take the steps, and I have this feeling, gee, I should have been aware of this years ago, or why didn't I do this years ago? Somehow, the work has even already been done on some inner level. So doing the outer work is easy and effortlessly and obvious. Easy and effortless and obvious. That's how the outer work can be when the inner work is done. So it is all inner work. It's just setting our course and then correcting our course over and over and over. And in the thing I emailed, I started brainstorming on different ways of correcting our course. And there's a huge number of them. And I've done a huge number over the years. We all have. The kind of guided meditation Gina started with can completely get us back on course and can cut through years of doubts and fears. That kind of guided meditation can be very, very, very powerful. I realize every teacher I've ever heard, every spiritual teacher, every business consultant, nearly every book I've read or something, I often get a phrase from, one phrase from, and that's all I really remember. But that phrase corrects my course. That phrase is something that I keep remembering over and over, and it gets me back on course again. Or if it's a teacher I spent time with, maybe maybe I'll remember 3 or 4 or half a dozen things at different times that will really help me get back on course again. Sometimes it's just a phrase, sometimes just a concept we get or something. So I love the internet, and I get several quotes from the day from people, and I find quotes and I save them and I put them up in big words on my wall. And what do? They correct my course. When I see them, I remember. One right in front of my face right now. I looked at my bulletin board. Gratitude for the present moment and the fullness of life now is true prosperity. Eckhart Tolle. The power of now. Gratitude for the present moment and the fullness of life now is true prosperity. I also have that great Nelson Mandela quote, which apparently Marianne Williamson wrote. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small doesn't serve the world. It's just a great quote. It goes on. It ends with, as we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Yes. That gets us right back on course again. Back into our courage. Back into going for our dream. Back into thinking, I'm going to make this work somehow. I'm going to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous. I love those words. Why not? Another one that I put in my email that has really affected me over the last year since I heard it, maybe. Albert Einstein became an incredible spiritual teacher later in his life. One thing he said, I just keep remembering, he said, there are 2 ways to view the world. One is as if there are no miracles. The other is as if everything is a miracle. I choose the latter. Everything is a miracle. All life is a miracle. You are a miracle. Just the fact that we're alive, just the fact that you're hearing these words, it's an incredible miracle when you think about it. Trillions of cells have organized themselves into creating your body, and some of them are creating these delicate ear canals that you're hearing these words, and it's going into this phenomenal brain that's making sense of these words, and that can affect your life. That is an absolute miracle, the miracle of creation. Just reflecting on that can get us back on course. A great piece of art can get us back on course. What happens when we look at a great piece of art? It takes our breath away at first. All thought evaporates. We just see the wonder of what is. Music gets us back on course. And I quoted Rebecca West in my email. A wonderful quote from this book, The Fountain Overflows, which I've never read, but I found this quote somewhere years ago. The quote is, you see, you're allowed to read the newspapers now. I hope you'll not attach too much importance to them. They give you a picture of an ordinary world that does not exist. You must always believe that life is as extraordinary as music says it is. Music can be wonderful for our spirits. It can make our spirits soar. It can get us back on track. All the great teachers get us back on track. I often carry CDs of Eckhart in my car, and I just plug in any CD at any point in random of his talks whenever I want a shot of inspiration. And I'll just randomly go to any spot, and always, whatever he says in that moment to my situation and gets me right back on course. That's a wonderful thing to do. I even have my own CDs, my 12 CD course. We're doing a new, I'm supposed to mention this, a new mentor group starts in September, Visionary Business, that has 12 audio downloads. And I've been listening to them. Listening to myself gets me right back on course. I must say, I love listening to my own talks. And I'll even, these talks are so long, recorded over 2 days, 12 hours, I'll even remember things that I'd forgotten about. And I'll sit there, oh, that's right. I went through that period. I had those thoughts. I learned this. This was a real moment for me that overcame a whole lot of difficulties. My old talks will remind me of things that I've even forgotten sometimes. They were the moments where I got back on course somehow. It can be absolutely anything. It can be a single phrase. It can be a single word. One of the first spiritual books I ever read was Autobiography of a Yogi. And one thing I remember from that book is there was a wonderful, old, enlightened man that would wander around Yogananda's village. And he had a big book under his arm that he would stop and just read page by page and just pore over the book and read it with great, great joy. And every page of the book had one word on it. It was just Rama, 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 which to them is God, the Creator. The Creator, God, Rama, Rama, Rama. Every page had that one word. And that would be his course correction. That's all he needed to remember was a word for God. Just pick a word for God and remember it. That can get you right back on course. Any word at all. Or Eckhart, I love his choice of words. He talks about presence. Remember your presence. He says, move some of your awareness within the body and feel your being or presence, as he goes, or just your energy, your life energy. And he says that is love. You could call it love. You can call it light. You can call it God. Just feel the reality of who you are. That gets you right back on course. Every night I say a prayer with my son that gets me on course completely every night. I do something in the morning and something in the evening. And highly recommend that to start the day right and end the day right. The evening prayer I do is, I say, we close our eyes and see a field of light. And we feel that light and life in every cell of our body, nurturing and healing every cell. And we know that light and life and love is who and what we are, now and forever. In a way that sums up what I've learned from Eckhart Tolle. The morning I just start by walking out and just letting all thought go with an out breath. A trick my Zen teacher taught me. Let all thought go and just look around at the wonder of the morning. And then I always say a brief prayer. I say, thank you, Creator. And I always thank Creator for something new I hadn't thought of. And I realize my gratitude list is endless and could go on. I could say things I'm grateful for till the end of my life and not even complete the list. And then I ask for guidance in the morning. And I usually get the same words. For years it was love, serve, and remember. And I'd say, remember what? And I'd hear, remember to love and serve yourself and others. That was great guidance. Now in the last year or so, I just keep getting, I say, give me guidance. What's your guidance for the day? I just get love, 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 love. That's my guidance for the day. That one word can completely get us back on course. We have a choice of love over fear. I made a whole list here in my email. A sunset, an infant's shining eyes. You've certainly had that experience of bending down to look at an infant and seeing this light radiating from their eyes, so bright and healthy and so white. It's almost, the whites of their eyes are almost bluish because they're so clear. And you look at that little being, there's just love shining through that being. And it makes you stop. There's a moment you can't even think. You're just bathed in an infant's love. That infant is still completely connected with the source and shows us the way. A dog or a cat shows us the way every moment. Eckhart says, watch your dog or cat live and die, and you will learn how to live and die. A flower springing through a crack in the sidewalk. I just saw that the other day. There's life right there. So many things. These words right now, so many things remind us of the wonder of what is and get us right back on course. And that to me is the essence of what I learned. Set your course, make it a bold course, dare to dream and go for your dream, and then deal with the doubts and fears that come up. And another, you can deal with them. I have this core belief process in my books, The Millionaire Course and Type C Guide. It's this whole process that I learned when I was 28 to really look at your doubts and fears and get down to the core belief and change that core belief by affirming exactly the opposite. There's definitely another way to get back on course. It's a very good way. But even just a word or phrase can so often immediately get us back on course. I love the analogy of a plane that I heard years ago, where a plane is off course over 95% of the time. They are off course, but the pilot just keeps correcting over and over and over and over, and they reach their destination. When I first heard that analogy, what popped into mind was, that's the story of my life. I think we can be off course most of the time, even, and still reach the life of our dreams if we just keep correcting over and over. Much of it is becoming aware of our thoughts, not dumping on ourselves because we're frustrated or angry or going through difficult times, just becoming aware of them. Eckhart says wonderful things about that too. He says, even if you're not at ease, if you become aware that you're not at ease, that awareness is at ease. So by becoming aware of the fact that you're frustrated or upset, then you're not fully frustrated or upset. There's a greater awareness at work. We are that greater awareness. And that awareness is at perfect peace and ease. That's the quality of our awareness. That's who we are. Just becoming aware of things. That's another way to get back on course. We develop this watcher that sees us. Oh, you're really frustrated about that right now. Isn't that interesting? You're really angry about that. Isn't that interesting? And by observing yourself, that frustration and anger start deflating. Suddenly they're not all powerful. They're not taking over every minute of your life. In fact, your life is far greater than that, and you're observing yourself going through these difficult times right now. Okay, and then you get an awareness, and an awareness is coming from a deeper, calmer place, and that awareness knows that that frustration and anger are temporary things that, like all emotions, will come and go. And who you really are is far deeper and far more profound and brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous than you are when you're all upset about something. That is the essence of what I know. We just need to get our subconscious working for us and convince it that, yes, one way or another, we're set on this course. We have made up our minds. This is what we're going to do. We want this life. We want the life of our dreams, and we're going to go for it. So you appeal to your subconscious to help you rather than hinder you. You appeal to it for help, and it begins helping you. That is how the process works, I'm convinced. I've talked long enough. Does anybody want to jump in with any question or comment or feedback or observation? Does it seem too simple? I try to express things as simply as possible. And it seems to me the process is a simple one. Is there anybody that felt skepticism arising with something I said? Eckhart says a beautiful thing. He says he's watched people during his talks that he'll talk for an hour or two, and certain people will sit there and take one phrase he says and disagree with it, and use that disagreement with that phrase to deny every word he said, or to just blow it off. Has there been anything like that in you? Anything that I've said that your mind immediately says, yeah, but? That's always an indication that you're blowing it off. Whether you're in conversation with somebody else or in your own mind. If you take in, yeah, but, Mark, it's not that simple. Or I've had people say, oh, it's simple for you, Mark. You're lucky. You happen to have all kinds of skills. You may not have even known you had them until you started, but things just fell into place for you. You were lucky. I'm not so lucky. To those people I say, you create your own luck. Luck equals preparedness, meaning opportunity. You get prepared, and then you see the opportunities. Anybody want to chime in with anything?
Hi, Mark. This is Lou Pollack.
Hi, Lou.
Hi. I just want to say that I've noticed since working with you that I'm in a very challenging place in my life once again. That this time, the quality of my experience is so different because, despite the fact that things are kind of scary and definitely offering some, just some challenge to constantly be releasing the idea that has to be hard is...
To constantly be what? You're breaking up a little, sorry.
To constantly be reflecting on that it doesn't have to be hard, that
yes.
space around the experience has made such a difference in my life.
Yes. Yeah, that is a good one. It doesn't have to be hard. We're taught vehemently that it has to be hard, that you must work hard is a great value. The value of hard work, and hard work is what creates the results. And
Yeah.
I always had a problem with that.
It creates a lot of tension. And
Yeah.
unnecessary tension.
Right.
So to constantly be seeing the conflict, which is kind of what we're taught to do by our families and by society, by the media, we're taught that there has to be constant friction in order to validate our lives, our experience of success or whatever it is.
Right.
To take that tension away feels really odd, but it's a wonderful gift.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. Yes, it can feel odd. It runs contrary to so much of what we were vehemently taught, to the point where many of us equate stress with success. And I've known, just in conversation with other people, they're always saying, "How are you doing?" "Oh, I'm busy." Sometimes they'll even say, "Oh, it's really stressful," and being busy is really a good thing. And we want to impress people with how busy we are, and basically how stressed out we are. And I definitely choose a very different way to do it, because I think, yes, stress is bad for your health. Stress is completely unnecessary.
But it seems to be a choice between going with spirit and going with the ego. The ego likes to be stressed out and to feel important in that.
Yeah.
And when that's released and we're just working from kind of a soulful place, it's, even though the work is hard and there's lots to do, it just feels like fun.
Yeah. And the work doesn't even have to be hard. That's a belief too, that hard work.
That's really hard to get.
That's hard to get.
Yeah,
well, it doesn't have to be hard to get.
Hard.
It's not like a very complex idea. It's quite a simple idea that we don't have to work hard. In certain jobs, I guess, if you're digging post holes in fence post holes, say, in really tough soil, you've got to work physically hard. But I don't do hard work. I don't work hard at all. And I know it's because for years I've just affirmed I want to do things, and I am doing things in an easy and relaxed manner, in a healthy and positive way. And when things get, with certain situations, if it gets stressful or complex, or if problems arise or emotional, I usually find a way to just either resolve it or just let it go. And I've let many projects go if they get too difficult, if the people start whining or anything, or I was dealing with somebody about a contract yesterday, and he started to get agitated. And I just chilled him out. I said, "Hey, there's no reason to get upset about this at all. We're just working out a partnership here. You put out what you want and need in the situation. We'll put out what we want and need, and there's some way to find the middle ground here, where we both get what we want and need." And of course, there almost always is. And so getting upset about it didn't help things in the least. In fact, they hurt things because they make you not open to new, different possibilities.
How did he respond to that? This is Mary, Mark.
It was pretty good. He chilled out.
Yeah.
But I remember consciously taking a minute or two talking to him and just like soothing him, just like calming him down.
Mm-hmm.
And the words weren't even important, but it was just my energy refusing to plug into his anxiety and refusing to match his stress level or anything. I just said, "Look, There's no problem here. There's nothing, we're not trying to take advantage of you in any way. I really am committed, and I understand that the best way to work is to make a win-win partnership. That's the only thing I'm trying. I'm just, going to work it out so that this really works for you in the long run. And I want to look years down the road and make sure this agreement we're making now we'll be happy with. And we compromised and made some agreements, and it was all about electronic rights and stuff, which is a whole new world. Unlike book royalties that have been the same for 100 years, that whole situation is so established. This whole electronic world is still evolving very much. So we finally ended up making an agreement that worked for both of us, but just doing it for 2 years and saying, okay,
see what happens.
See what happens. We'll sit down and revisit this in 2 years. So,
well, what I got from listening to you was not, but it was more a sense of kind of a acknowledgement that, letting go of that busy and hard attitude, it involves a lot of overcoming bad training.
Overcoming what?
Overcoming the sort of bad training, right?
Oh, yes, right.
Yeah.
Yes, years of,
exactly.
bad training.
And I was just listening to you talk about the smorgasbord and the kind of the buffet of tools that are there. And I found it, really inspirational because it's so true that it's just, yes, it might only happen one step at a time, but it's certainly never going to happen no steps at a time.
Right. Yep.
It's like that quote you had put in your email, just offer no resistance and be in a state of grace and ease and lightness.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that quote.
That's a great quote.
Yeah. Yeah, to offer no resistance to life.
It's so perfect.
It is. It's so perfect. I literally, when I was reading The Power of Now, I told this to Eckhart, I still haven't finished the book. I've been reading it for 10 years.
That's about as long as it should take.
Yeah, I said, and I spent about 18 months on that one sentence. Literally, finally I'd keep the book in my bathroom, and in the morning, when I go pee, I sit down and pick up the book. And for 18 months, I just read that one sentence on page 155 of the hardcover. And then that was enough for the day, and I'd say, okay, I have to think about this for the day.
Yeah.
And I saw all the little places I was resisting. Just resisting what is. Sitting in traffic. What good does it do to resist? You're sitting in traffic. That's what is. Your resistance doesn't change the traffic one iota.
It only harms yourself.
Right. It only harms you physically. It doesn't make one car length of a difference. So you might as well just put on a CD of great music or inspiring words or whatever. Make a phone call, whatever.
It might even introduce another car length in front of you if you continue to resist.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great. It's helped me immeasurably. And now I'm stuck on page 156. So for 3 years or something, I've made a page. And I told Eckhart this. I said, I can't finish your book, and he was so sweet. He tapped me on the arm. He said, "You're the best reader of my book." He was being, of course, just totally his usual sweet self to me. But now what I'm on page 156 is the happiness derived from some secondary source is never that deep. And by secondary source, he means anything outside of ourselves, which is amazing. The whole concept, I have this feeling if I understand this phrase, I will live and die in perfect peace.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I need is this phrase, to live and die in perfect peace. Because he says the happiness from some secondary source is never that deep. It is only a pale reflection of the joy of being, the vibrant peace we find within when we enter a state of non-resistance.
What a perfect page to follow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. Just the joy of being within by far surpasses all the things out there we're conditioned to think we need to make ourselves happy. You know.
Yeah, that's all that bad training.
Yeah.
But it's pretty deep, that training.
Oh, totally. And we think, we need a relationship.
Right.
We need a job. We need shelter. There's some things we do need. We need food, shelter. But we've now come to a place where we so often think we need something else out there to make us happy. And we finally discover nothing out there will make us happy. It's completely an internal job.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Mark.
Yes.
Carl Francis Pender is calling.
Carl, was it?
Carl, yeah.
Carl. Howdy.
Yeah. Hey, a couple of things. I totally agree with you about the power of the subconscious. In fact, yesterday I went to buy some products, and I had this thought, why buy this thing? None of these things have ever worked for you before. And then later in the evening, I had the thought, that was just something that was coming from your conscious mind, the egoic mind, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And, along this line, you mentioned earlier, that you had wanted to have it all, way back when or whenever you wanted the house on the hill and everything and all that. And Eckhart says, that the ego goes from, wanting to thwarted wanting and then to indifference. And, and I'm wondering, it almost makes it sound like, sounds or feels like wanting is kind of like a bad thing,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering how you might resolve a conflict along that line.
Yeah. I'm often asked about, because I do quote Eckhart so much, and we seem to be polar opposites in terms of our teaching and what we understand, and
right,
and
yeah.
I do say it is a polarity. I think the Taoists had it exactly right. Life is filled with polarities, total polarities, and there's a wonderful polarity. I think, we have wants, we have desires, whether they're from our ego or whether they're from our spirit really wanting to fulfill us. We have all these wants and desires. It's just natural in these human bodies. Look at a 2-year-old. Talk about wants and desires. And that's us. We still have part of that inner child that really wants that thing,
Right.
And so I think it's wonderful to go for it. And yet, it's wonderful to remember Eckhart and to let it go as well. And if it happens, great. If it doesn't happen, that's okay too. It's not meant to be. And Eckhart keeps me on track every moment to just celebrate and enjoy this moment. And yet I sit down and I project what I want in the next year and the expansion I want to see and the steps I'm going to take. And then I let it go. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Eckhart was brilliant about money. He was asked by the Chronicle here when he was in town, what's it like to make money, so much money all of a sudden? And he just chuckled. He said, well, for years I had no money, and that was okay. And now I've got money, and that's okay, too. And I thought, he's nailed it. He's got it.
Let me ask you about another line from Eckhart. Now, I'm a little astounded to learn you haven't finished The Power of Now yet. And
no, I was there when he read it, and I heard him read it.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
when we recorded it.
Right, I listened to that. Yeah.
But I've never. Yeah, I can't finish that book. I'm still on 156.
Well, maybe you haven't finished A New Earth yet either. I don't know. But
No. I'm about page, I don't know, 80 or 90 of that or something. It's the same thing with New Earth for me. I read a little bit and then stop and say, I got to reflect about this.
Yeah.
But
anyway, here's something that you could help me with. Reflect on in A New Earth. He has a sentence that says, "Every belief is an obstacle." Now, what might he be getting at here? I mean, this is something that's kind of like hung me up. Oh my God, what does he mean? What is
I can see that because he sees the absolute beauty and power of this moment, being in this moment without a thought. In a way, he's translated Zen beautifully and several other religions and philosophies too, but it's what all the Zen teachers have been saying too. This moment, without thinking about it, without labeling it, without judging it, without bringing in your beliefs about it. Belief can be a very dangerous thing. People kill over their beliefs. What was his exact quote again?
He says every belief is an obstacle.
Every belief is an obstacle, yeah. Yes, it is an obstacle to enjoying this moment in its fullness. Because this moment is without thought. And as soon as you have a belief, that's a thought, that's a concept.
Uh-huh.
He'll often talk about how thoughts are things and beliefs are thoughts. When you sit there arguing about beliefs, you're into all these concepts, and you're not just here in the moment.
Uh-huh.
Just like my Zen teacher, he actually would say exactly the same things Eckhart would say. And he often would say, just let your thought go, and in this moment, look at something without labeling and judging. Just see it for what it is. And it's the miraculous life force of this miraculous creation. And they talk about Kensho experiences where you wake up to see how miraculous it all is. Well, that's beyond belief and beyond thought. It just is seeing what is and is perceiving without thought. It's why children and animals are much closer to enlightenment than most adults, because they don't have that ongoing battle of words going through their minds, a series of beliefs and judgments and labeling. We see a sunset, and so often it's, oh, that's a beautiful sunset, and we've labeled it, and that's it. Then we're off looking at the next thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's like, well, yeah, I lived near Niagara Falls, and apparently a lot of people, the idea is, people will come up and they'll look at it and they'll look at it for 10 minutes and they'll say, okay, we've seen it, now let's, what's
yeah, now let's go to the Grand Canyon. They look at that. Yeah, right.
Hello, Mark.
Yes.
Yeah, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Yeah, I kind of joined in late. I just dialed in like 10 minutes ago. It was a great insight into it. Now, I want to ask you something. I also didn't finish reading the part now, and I listened to the audio recording that you guys both did, and I found, really it's helpful to really connect with his ideas. And one thing that I want to ask you is this idea, like you guys said, that all thoughts or beliefs are limitations. So how do we get over, like let's say if we have this limiting, like let's say we have lived 30 years with limiting beliefs, and we're just now being immersed with I'm reading your books and also Eckhart books. So if we have ideas of limitations and beliefs, is it possible to just drop them in an instant, or do we need to practice this way of living more and more?
I think you've touched on the essential thing, and I think you can do both. You can drop them in an instant. As soon as you let go of that thought, you have dropped them. But then they keep reoccurring, of course, old habits. So it is a matter of, refining and refining, letting them go again, letting them go again. There was an amazing book a while ago called A Stroke of Insight. Did you hear about that?
No, I haven't.
This woman, she's a Harvard brain researcher, of all things, and she was researching the difference between left and right brain functions. And then she had a hemorrhage in her left brain, and the blood hemorrhaging in her left brain, she said, is toxic to brain cells, and it basically knocked out most of her left brain functions. For 5 weeks, she was in a state of absolute silence. She couldn't put a thought together. She had no thoughts. She couldn't talk. The right side of her body was paralyzed, and she was in absolute bliss for 5 weeks. Absolute bliss. Her right brain just saw the world without judgments, labels, without language. She heard music in a new way. She could sing after the experience. She could never sing before on key or anything. She became a really good singer and really heard music.
Is it possible to take action in that state of awe? Is it possible to do things?
Yes. My Zen teacher called it positive samadhi. It means the Zen traditional thing is you meditate long enough till you finally let all thought go, and you're sitting there in that stillness of right brain. Then the real mature students can take that stillness into activity. He calls it positive samadhi. So for Zen people, disciplined meditation works. For this one woman, if we had a hemorrhage in her left brain, that's another way. For Eckhart, it was this breakthrough when he was seriously depressed, and he just heard the words resist nothing and had such an intense experience. He said that for months after, 80% of his thoughts were gone. He said he had only like 20%, he approximated, of his usual thoughts. So whatever we can do to just keep reminding us to let go of that thought, let go of the stream of judgments, let go of any repetitive anger or resentment towards someone, or our brain, 98% of the thinking is repetitive.
Right, and for me, the biggest challenge is I know this stuff, but it's dealing with some. I mean, what do you call addictions? Like I'm addicted to coffee, and I'm addicted to working on my computer and
right.
watching television. So I do these things compulsively, even though I know I shouldn't be doing this. I want to focus on writing my best-selling book and getting on with my life and really doing something significant. But I keep doing what I know doesn't work, and it's this compulsive addictions and thinking that I need to let go of before I can start living my dreams. Right?
No. Well, that's a trap. You're labeling your coffee drinking as compulsive and addictive, which, I mean, it is on one level. I love my coffee, But even compulsive addictive behavior doesn't have to prevent you from living the life of your dreams.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. You can create what you want, being uniquely you. And don't find that's just a subtle way that our minds undermine us. You're just like a woman in one of my seminars who said, for 30 years she's wanted to write poetry. She has all these ideas, but she always felt she needed to have her house just impeccably clean first, including her closets and her drawers organized, before she should sit down and write poetry. And, of course, that never happened. Well, it's the same analogy. I told her, just sit down and write poetry. You don't have to have your closets and drawers organized. I bet Emily Dickinson's closets were a mess.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe they were impeccably clean, but I know her drawers were a mess because much of her poetry was just scribbled on envelopes stuck in drawers. Well, don't let any kind of addictive compulsive behavior or any judgments like that prevent you from just going for your dream. Don't let anything postpone it. Take the first steps. Ask your subconscious what you need to do. What's the next step? Just start writing your book.
Right. Yeah, thank you for giving me the permission, because I think I need to give myself the permission to actually go for my dreams and just stop waiting for the right moment or even judging myself, because I know I can do, I want to do something significant of value that adds value to the world, but I'm stopping myself because I've never done it in the past. I don't see myself as a best-selling author, and
yeah, well, start seeing yourself as a successful author and take the first steps. Sit down. Begin your book. See what comes out.
Yeah, thank you. I'll report to you back what I do.
My writing is a great excuse to drink even more coffee. I think, I reward myself with all kinds of addictive things when I'm writing. It's great. I've written a page. Good. Then I'll, do something that's a special treat.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else want to jump in? We've got about 5 more minutes.
Hi, Mark. This is Terry. I just want to tell you I really look forward to your talks. I've heard you talk many times, but every time I get something absolutely wonderful and precious from them, so thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm skipping next month, incidentally, because I'll be in Europe, but then I'll continue in September.
Well, looking forward to September then. I heard something a little different tonight. I always hear something different. One of the things that it really sat with me, like what you were saying, it's like I felt like I was like in the words. Like I was, it wasn't like out there and something I have to do. I was actually experiencing your words tonight, which was quite interesting for me. The other thing I noticed, too, is when you're talking about your ideal scene, as many times as you have explained this process, I heard something a little different. You said that it comes to pass. And I've always kind of seen my ideal scene as something that's out there, above there, and kind of visualizing. And I almost started thinking or hearing something different where not only do you see it happening, but what happens after that ideal scene has actually come to pass and actually looking back on it. Is there something to that, or am I missing a piece, or did I learn a new piece, or?
I don't exactly know what you mean.
I think you were talking about like the ideal scene, for example, like when you talked about that you wanted to have your book company.
Mm-hmm.
That you want to have your publishing company. So now that you have it, did you just say, oh, I want to have a successful publishing company, or did you look at it like, okay, now that that's happened, this is what it feels like, this is what it's like, this is the experience of actually having it?
Before I had it?
Yes, before you had it.
I know I was told early on, I remember hearing that that's a great thing to do, to visualize so clearly that you feel as if it was already happening. But I don't think I did that.
Okay.
Certainly not successfully. I just remember just really struggling to try to make it happen, and then somehow becoming determined to make it happen one way or another, and then somewhere it became an intention at some point along the road. And I think once it became an intention, then it happened really quite quickly.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was very good. That's good.
Great.
I may be overthinking it.
Maybe. And I think in these areas of visualization, we're all unique. And just do what works for you. I do like that analogy of a buffet or smorgasbord that just, from what I say, take something. And you don't have to do it all or anything. Just take something that works for you. And some people really do visualize and really feel just how it would feel when they're there, and that can really help But it's all a matter of do whatever you need to get your subconscious mind moving toward that. Get your subconscious mind saying, yeah, you can have that. And ask your mind, say, how can I do this? Show me what to do. Show me what to do. Ask yourself that. And your mind will show you exactly what to do. In your own really unique way. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you, Jerry. And thank you all. That should wrap it up. I'm going to Europe for a month, so I won't do anything in August. I'm taking August off, but I'll see you first Wednesday in September, or I'll talk to you. And I do have a new Visionary Business mentoring group that's starting in September. You can check my website for details.
And Mark, I just wanted to add thank you for mentioning that, because next September will be our last call before we start the group. And we have all the information for the program on the website. You can also contact our office through the website, and we'll answer any questions you have about the new program.
Great.
So we've been having the 12-week course on Millionaire course, but this one is Visionary Business. So it's much more tailored to entrepreneurs who have in mind their vision of the company that they want to start, and it's more coaching from Mark to start and launch and enhance your business. So really whatever level you're at with your business.
So if you don't have a business, like I don't have any business, but I want to start a book, like I want to start a business, becoming a self-published author. Can you do that?
Oh, yeah, it's excellent for that. Even creative artists, I was thinking, just about anybody, even people with a total solo career can really benefit. And, yeah, if you're writing and thinking of self-publishing, which is a great way to go now, it's never been easier or cheaper, yeah, I think you could find it very valuable.
And it's really more business. I mean, there's a lot of business consulting, marketing consulting. There's different tools and, references and resource materials. So you don't have to have an existing business, but there's a lot of structured business coaching available through this course, more so than the other ones.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure it'll be valuable for a wide range of people. In fact, I guarantee it, money back offer. If you aren't happy with it, you can have your money back. We only want happy money, as someone once said. I only want happy money.
Well, it's all about getting value and giving value and provide and sharing the value, I think, right, isn't it?
Right. Yep. Creating something you love, finding some way to market and sell it, and having financial controls.
I mean, if everybody in the world lived their dreams and went for it, I mean, I think we'd have everybody would be living in abundance. I mean, we would not be in this mess that we are in right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I mean, of course, you need to have a sense of integrity with your dreams, and then everything falls with character and dream, and then everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what I'm teaching could be taught in schools, in high schools.
We should probably do that.
Yeah, it'd be great. Great.
Maybe that would be your next project, how to get this into schools. Yeah.
Maybe. Be a great one. All right, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, good luck in Europe.
Thank you.
Yeah, have fun.
Yeah,
I will. I'll really enjoy it. So, everyone have a good summer, and I'll talk to you in September.
Yeah, thank
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.